Picture this. You walk out of your IT exam feeling absolutely unstoppable, only to get your paper back and see red ink everywhere. Well, we're going to fix that right now because there is one tiny fatal mistake that students make constantly on the Cambridge AS level information technology exam.
Validation checks if data is correct, while verification checks if it's true. Sounds perfect, doesn't it? It feels totally logical, and it's exactly the kind of vague summary you might find in a hastily written study guide. But here is the terrifying reality for Cambridge 9626 students. Writing this exact sentence on your exam paper is going to cost you every single mark for that question. It is dangerously wrong because it completely misses the technical distinction the examiner is actually hunting for.
You'll earn exactly 0 marks for that answer. And earning 0 marks on foundational basics like this instantly puts your grade boundary at serious risk. In an exam where the difference between an A and a B literally comes down to a handful of points, throwing away method marks on concepts you've actually studied is a total tragedy. So we have to fix this tiny, fatal mistake right now, before you sit for your paper.
Part 1. The Diagnostic Pivot. Why Ordinary Revision Fails.
Okay, let's dive into this. To stop losing marks, we really need to understand why ordinary revision fails so spectacularly in the Cambridge 9626 environment. The big problem? Most students just try to memorize isolated textbook definitions. But this syllabus isn't a vocabulary test. It is a test of applied technical reasoning, and ordinary revision fails because students constantly mix up closely related concepts. The theoretical foundations of data and information basics depend entirely on your ability to distinguish between these overlapping ideas. We see these typical errors all the time: confusing validation with verification, online processing with real-time processing, or direct data with indirect data. By analyzing these concepts side by side, you're getting your first quick win. You absolutely must understand the contrast. For instance, validation ensures data is reasonable and meets certain rules, while verification simply ensures data hasn't changed during entry or transmission. If you don't clearly explain that difference, the examiner knows you're just guessing.
And that brings us straight to the principal examiner's most urgent warning. Lack of scenario anchoring equals lost marks. Generic points are rarely going to gain full credit. The examiner wants to see that you can take your theoretical knowledge and literally anchor it to the specific workplace scenario provided in the question. Whether the context is a hospital monitoring system, a secure payroll website, or a multimedia workflow, if you fail to anchor your theory to that exact situation, your generic textbook points are just going to fall flat.
Part 2. The High Mark Answer Framework.
Now, in just a moment, I'm going to show you a hidden examiner clue that changes your answer completely. But first, you absolutely need the structural framework that makes that clue entirely obvious. Without framework, you'll just end up brain dumping everything you know about a topic and praying the examiner finds something worth rewarding. Enter the PEELJ methodology. This is your absolute guarantee for securing method marks in your extended responses. Here's how it works. First, you make your point, identifying the exact technical concept. Next, you provide evidence pulled directly from the given scenario. Then comes the explanation, where you detail exactly how the mechanism works in a clear, logical sequence. After that, you link the explanation right back to the specific problem the organization is facing. And finally, you provide a judgment, evaluating why this matters or why it's better than an alternative. Build your answers this way, and you're suddenly speaking the exact language of the mark scheme.
But how do you actually remember all that theory to feed into the framework? Well, you use this super reliable 4-prompt memory structure. When you're revising a topic, ask yourself out loud, what is it? How does it work? Where is it used? And why is it better or worse than the alternative? Seriously, if you can confidently answer these 4 questions aloud for any given topic, your knowledge is actually ready for exam use. If you stumble, you need to go back and rebuild the topic from the core contrast and a worked example.
Part 3. Interactive Application. Spot the Error.
Let's see how this builds in real life. We're going to escalate the stakes right now with a realistic 9626 scenario to test your brand new structural framework. I want you to actively engage with this next part. Here's the scenario. A hospital uses a new database for patient records. Evaluate the use of custom versus off-the-shelf software. I want you to physically pause this explainer right now. Read the scenario carefully and mentally predict the correct approach using our new framework before we move forward. Really think about the specific demands of a hospital environment.
Okay, welcome back. Did your mental prediction look anything like this? Custom software is better because it is made for the hospital, but off-the-shelf is cheaper. This is a highly typical, fundamentally flawed student answer. I challenge you to spot why this completely ignores the examiner's core demands. Notice that it names the concepts, and yeah, it repeats the word hospital, but there is absolutely zero technical depth here. It doesn't explain how custom software is actually made, it doesn't link to the specific complexities of patient records, and the judgment is incredibly shallow. This answer earns almost nothing.
Part 4. Examiner-style correction.
Now, what's really interesting is how we can transform that zero-mark disaster into a top-band response using our framework. This brilliantly illustrates the difference. We have that flawed, generic answer that simply states basic facts, but then we have a top-band answer. This one points out that custom software can be specifically programmed to handle complex, confidential patient medical histories and integrate with the hospital's existing diagnostic hardware. It provides evidence by explicitly mentioning the sensitive nature of the patient records from the scenario. It explains that while off-the-shelf software is immediately available and has lower initial development costs, it might lack the highly specialized security features required for medical data. Then it links this directly back to patient safety and privacy regulations. Finally, it makes a clear comparative judgment based on the hospital's priority for data integrity over upfront cost. See the difference? It's huge.
So, the crucial takeaway here is that specificity plus the scenario equals maximum marks. Linking your technical knowledge back to the exact system design or workplace context given to you in the prompt is your absolute key to success. You cannot just list facts. You have to tell the story of how that technology solves these specific problems sitting right in front of you.
Part 5. The hidden cause cliffhanger.
But here is a terrifying reality we need to pivot to. Even if you completely master the PEELJ framework, and even if you perfectly anchor your knowledge to the hospital scenario, there is one hidden trap that will still ruin your score. What if you use the perfect framework but miss the exact command word? This is our ultimate diagnostic cliffhanger. If the question asks you to analyze and you only describe, or if it asks you to evaluate and you simply explain, your mark band is instantly capped. It absolutely does not matter how brilliant your IT knowledge is. Misunderstanding the specific demands of Cambridge command words is the hidden cause of dropped grades across the globe.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at acetheexams_IGCSE to excel in your Cambridge examinations.
You can have the perfect technical knowledge and the perfect scenario framework, but if you answer how when the examiner specifically asks why, you've already lost. Are you really going to let one misunderstood word dictate your final grade? You absolutely cannot afford to leave this problem unresolved. Watching the next explainer on command words is the mandatory next step to secure your top grade. I'm going to break down exactly what the examiner expects for every single command word in the 9626 syllabus. Dive into that explainer right now to discover the secret to unlocking those highest mark bands. I'll see you there.